everybody. Welcome back to the Because She Can series. I am so excited about today's guest. With me, I have Jordana Dahmen. She is a research coordinator for Vital Research and a former research coordinator at St. Luke's Health System. She is also Miss Idaho USA 2022 and will be competing at Miss USA in October. So welcome, Jordana.
Hello, everyone.
Okay, I want to jump right into it because I know that we have a lot to discuss. So by day, you are a scientist, and I feel like we don't meet a lot of girls in pageantry who are also scientists. So what got you interested in science and pursuing a STEM career?
So I have been interested in science since before I think I even knew what science was. I was a very curious little kid. I was always mixing different things in my mom's kitchen. And my teachers noticed I was also very annoying. I was always asking why. So my seventh grade science teacher, he actually told me I was the most annoying student he's ever had in all of his years of teaching because anytime he would say something, I'd go, why? But why? I always wanted to understand how things work. And so I was very fortunate to have him because he recognized that that was a skill set in science. And so he encouraged me to compete in science competitions. I got involved in Science Olympiad, competed in some national competitions, really just fell in love with the scientific process. And so going into college, I knew I wanted to pursue a STEM career, wasn't sure what exactly. So I started with a degree in biology. And then I also did undergraduate research, which is something I would recommend for anyone trying to figure out what it is they want to do in STEM. It really gave me an opportunity to try different things and most importantly, find out what I wasn't interested in. I worked in computer science labs, exercise physiology labs, and stumbled my way through finding like what it was that I was going to truly be passionate about in the STEM fields.
And that led you to biology, right? Because that's what you ended up majoring in.
Yes, I majored in biology, which was a really good general science education for me to have that I could apply to a lot of different things. So since graduating from college, I switched from being in academic research to clinical research. So I got to work on clinical trials, doing research regulations for oncology studies at St. Luke's. And then more recently, I actually made a complete career shift. So now I work in social sciences, doing survey evaluation for nursing homes and assisted living.
Wow. Okay, look at you go. That's amazing. On stage, you introduce yourself by saying, "This is what a scientist looks like." I remember that from last year's pageant. So, what do you mean when you say this is what a scientist looks like?
I think when we look in media and movies and TV shows, there's a very narrow portrayal of how scientists are seen. A lot of times they're only seen as like, not to say it like, but like the dork and nerdy and maybe a little. So pageant girls aren't necessarily what you would envision when you first think of what a scientist is. And there's a wide range. There's no one right way or wrong way. I think it's important to highlight all of the different portrayals of women, men, what their backgrounds are. It's not even just like what you look like, but I'm someone who has a biology degree, but you could also be someone who doesn't even have an undergraduate degree in a STEM field and still contribute as a scientist. So I always make a point to say this is what a scientist looks like in my everyday life, in my pageant life, when I'm working, just to show we're very versatile, we're diverse people. We don't fit into a box of just this is the one way you're going to look, behave, act. It's okay to have interests outside of science. I love doing pageants. Science came first, pageants came later, and that's totally okay. You can embrace who you are, and that's going to make other people feel more welcome and comfortable being themselves.
No, I think that's a fair point. When we look at like scientists in TV shows or in movies, it's always like a guy with glasses. Like there's never any women scientists or very few. And if there are scientists, they're like just nerdy dudes. And that's definitely not the case. It's definitely a field that's open to anyone and everyone. So what advice would you give to other young women considering a career in science?
I think something for me that I really wish someone would have told me sooner, it's okay to set boundaries. I really felt the need as a woman in science to always be proving myself. So anytime someone asked for help, I always said yes. And I overloaded myself. Sometimes that actually led to burnout, where things that I loved, I was doing too much, putting too much on my plate. And I started to not enjoy working in certain research labs because I had taken on too much. So I think it's really important to be comfortable and okay with saying no to people, knowing when you've hit that limit of what you can and cannot handle. And it's okay to have time in your day where you're just resting and relaxing. You don't always have to be excelling in order to establish that you're someone who's credible in science. So I really wish I would have had that advice when I was starting out.
I love it. I really like the rest and relaxation part because I feel like nowadays we're all so busy. We have all these ideas that we're juggling and different pursuits because we say yes to everything. And so taking that time for yourself is really important to kind of recharge and fight that burnout. So I personally identify with that one a ton. I did want to ask about you're an if then ambassador. And some of us may not be aware of what that means. So, can you explain a little bit more about what If Then is and how you became an ambassador?
I think that this program is something that really shows people the real life female role models that there are in STEM. It's a group of 125 contemporary STEM role models in varying stages in their careers, as well as different areas of study. So, some of the other ambassadors, they are sports scientists for the US women's soccer team, some do research for NASA, some are in fashion design and have implementations of science in that field. And it's really a program about introducing people to these real life role models, since currently film and TV don't necessarily have people that everyone can identify with. One of the expressions we use is if she can see it, then she can be it. And so it was a really cool experience with the program. The philanthropist recognized that there were not very many statues of women in major US cities in the country. And so she decided, well, I've got 125 pretty cool contemporary STEM role models. She made 3D printed life size statues of each of us and unveiled it as the most statues of women in one place. But we were not put up on pedestals. They were just 3D statues on the ground because it was meant to be a very interactive and accessible exhibit for people to see themselves in all of the different scientists. There were QR codes that they could scan to learn more about us as individuals. And back in March, they actually featured our exhibit at the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C. for Women's Future Month. And so we were able to, as ambassadors, go to the opening ceremony weekend and get to interact with the public, do public engagement, meet some little kiddos that were going through the museum. And it was such a eye-opening experience because I think now that I'm in pageants, there are quite a few women who are becoming more prominent that are in STEM in the pageant industry. And so I thought, why am I even doing this anymore? It seems we're getting more women. But while I was standing there next to my 3D printed statue that looks exactly like me, just orange, I had people asking me, because I had my sash of Miss Idaho on, and they were wondering, oh, are you just visiting the exhibit? I was like, no, I'm actually in the exhibit. And then people asked me, oh, so you're a scientist? And I was like, yes, I am a scientist. I have publications in computer science. And so it really showed me that while we are seeing more numbers of women in STEM, there's still a lot of stigmas around and stereotypes. And so I really feel the need to make sure that people have someone that they can connect to that will help navigate the STEM fields for them.
I love that they came up and asked you, are you just a visitor? No, this is me. This is my statue I'm standing next to. That's such a great story. And it's so, so cool. Not many people can say my statue was in the Smithsonian. So that is wild and very well deserved. And I thought it was so cool seeing that statue of you. I was like, oh my gosh, that's Jordana. Like she's in I don't know even know what 3D printed material form is, but she's in 3D printed material form. It was so cool to see. I do want to kind of pivot and talk a little bit about pageants because you are Miss Idaho USA, and you're going to be competing at Miss USA on October 3rd. So I just want to ask, how are you feeling knowing that that is coming up? And are you doing anything specific to prepare?
I was really fortunate that I was crowned as Miss Idaho USA back last September. So luckily I've had a lot of time to let it sink in the gravity of the fact that I will be competing at Miss USA here in a couple of months. And because I was crowned so early in the process, I've really used the year. I look at pageant prep as a year-round experience. I don't like to leave everything last minute, cram, stress myself out. So I'm a really big advocate of countdown stickers. I have a calendar on my wall. The minute they gave us the date, I was able to have like concrete numbers that I could put on my wall, say, okay, I've got, 68 days left until Miss USA. And so I make sure
Mhm.
every day when I put that sticker on that I'm going to do something today to help me prepare. Even if it's a small thing, it could just be read the Daily Skim every day to stay up to date on current events,
And
just to make sure I'm understanding everything that's going on around the world, not just in my local community and even in the state community. But I also do fitness. I'm really naturally skinny. So for me, I actually work on gaining muscle and gaining weight. I want to be a positive role model for other people to look at. So I want to make sure that I'm living a healthy lifestyle by working out, taking care of my body, which also helps with my mental health. Sometimes it's really nice to just kind of have that morning gym session or late night gym session to blow off a little extra steam if I had a really stressful day at work. And then doing walking practice and just making sure I'm engaging with my community. One of the weirdest ways I like to practice my pageant interview is whenever I'm in an Uber ride, I will ask my Uber driver to ask me random questions. And sometimes they don't want to participate, which is totally fine. But you really get a unique perspective of just what
Mhm.
an average person would ask. Because I think sometimes when we work with people who are in the pageant community, we all have that standard set of questions that we all ask each other. So I love just
Yep.
getting to see what a random stranger comes up with what they would want to get to know about someone.
I have never thought of asking the Uber driver to ask, but that's genius because I Uber all the time. What is the like weirdest or most out of the box question they've asked you?
Oh gosh, I have gotten some weird questions. I think usually it surprises me when they go straight for a very polarizing political question. When they are a
Mm.
stranger that we know nothing about each other, but a lot of times they'll think about whatever headlines they most recently saw in the news, which for a first intro to someone within like the first 2 minutes of meeting them to be asked a very polarizing
Yeah.
question, you really learn how to navigate those conversations. And it's a good gauge for me if my answer is something that is being cognizant to the other side and being respectful of other people based off of how they interact and react to what my response is.
Yeah. And that happens in the pageant interview room too. You walk in, you've never met those judges before, and they could ask you something super controversial and you just gotta come out and answer it. So it's kind of like that in the pageant interview world too. Okay, so I want to also ask because you mentioned that you won Miss Idaho USA in September. It wasn't your first time competing. You'd competed a few times before. You'd been first runner-up before. So did you have some kind of different approach, whether it was a mindset, whether it was preparation, that you think really helped you last year to take home the title?
Yes, before I get into like the specific preparation, one thing I want to touch on because I feel like a lot of people really stress out every year about their wardrobe. I in 2020 did not even make top 5 that year. Previous year I had been first runner up, but in 2020 I did not even make top 5. And for the year that I won, I wore the exact same evening gown and the exact same interview outfit. So one year didn't make top 5, next year won in the wardrobe. So if there are pieces of wardrobe that you feel you love competing in, do not stress about the fact that you already wore them. And even if you didn't score well in them, the wardrobe is the least of your worries. It's really about the woman inside of the wardrobe and who you show up on pageant weekend. So what I spent the year leading up to winning doing, I was just very intentional with my time. I am a professional, so I do work a 40-hour work week at least, and it can be difficult sometimes to make sure that you are preparing every single day. And so that's where, for me, doing that year-round pageant prep rather than squeezing it into a really short time frame. I'm someone I love my morning routine. And so I would do morning devotionals, which was a really good time for me to reflect. It was my like personal journaling time as well to think about what it is that I wanted out of this experience, why I was even doing it, and then really also just detaching from the outcome. I was genuinely content with either way. It was my final year. I was going to be aging out. And so I really fully accepted either this is going to be the start of a new journey or it's going to be the end of this journey, but who knows what doors are going to open for me next. And so I wanted to show the judges that I was ready for the responsibility. But if they picked someone else that weekend, I was really okay with that being the case. And that's really helped me even with this prep going into Miss USA because there's 51 contestants, only one of us is going to win. And so I've looked at this year as to rather than thinking about what am I going to do in order to win Miss USA, more what can I get from this year that will set me up for the rest of my future? What kind of a network can I build for myself? What kind of skills are going to help me beyond this year? If I win, that's great. You know, that's one of the goals that we all have when we're competing. But what can I do with the opportunity I have and the platform I have right now to really set myself up for a trajectory later in life?
Yes, I feel like so often we can get caught up in, I have to win this title because I've put so much effort and time and it's like blood, sweat, tears, literally into preparing for this, into years of pursuing this dream, that we kind of forget sometimes that we have goals that go beyond that year if you were to win, that go beyond the competition, and not to let those things fall by the wayside, not to forget that you have so many great things coming your way and so many wonderful things that you can do, that this is just a piece of that. And win or lose, you're still that incredible, strong, intelligent person on the inside. And whatever those judges say, you still know that about yourself. So that's what I've learned through the years too, is that you still got to hang on to everything else that you have going for you, because it's only a year, right? Your year's almost over, which is so sad. Is there anything that you still want to do this year as Miss Idaho USA before you give up the title in September?
I do have a few more appearances that are coming up in these last couple weeks. I think it's going to be a very bittersweet moment to no longer get to represent myself as Miss Idaho USA when I'm going out to events. There's something special about getting to connect with little kids. Um, the sparkly crown, it gets their attention. Their eyes light up. They want to come talk to you. They want to know more. And so it was a really easy way for me to get kids engaged in science, because I was able to start a conversation without them knowing anything about me other than they saw sparkles. So they came over, they wanted to say hello, and then I could start to get to know them. So I really want to spend these last couple of weeks trying to be out in the community as much as possible, be a part as many events. And this next weekend, I'm going up to Eastern Washington and Spokane. I'm going to be helping out volunteering at a golf tournament that is for Military Appreciation Day. I have a couple events in a couple other states, and so stay tuned to see what is next. But really, just trying to soak in these last couple moments, and being grateful for the opportunities I had. I've been to over 10 different states this year. We were able to go to Cancun for the Miss USA retreat, and so a lot of exposure to a lot of different places. Especially being someone who's from a teeny tiny town of 300 initially, I never would have in my wildest dreams imagined not only that I'd be competing at Miss USA one day, but have the opportunity to get to experience so much of the country.
Ugh, it sounds like you've had an absolutely incredible year. And Cancun, the orientation in Cancun looked incredible. It looked like everybody had a blast. So jealous. But I'm so happy for you in the year that you've had. I want to ask, in terms of what's next for you, not even just after Miss Idaho USA, but 5, 10 years down the line, where do you see yourself professionally and even personally?
So I'm really fortunate right now in that I feel very content where I'm at professionally. I am at a company where I just feel like I'm part of a family. They are very respective of having a work-life balance. I'm fully remote. I get unlimited paid time off, so I'm able to take full advantage of opportunities outside of the workplace. I'm someone who I learned that I don't necessarily get my fulfillment in life out of workplace accomplishments. I used to try to constantly strive for more and more and more in the workplace, but as long as I feel like I'm having a significant impact in the work that I do, I enjoy having that work-life balance so that outside of work, I can do more activities that doing that STEM engagement, getting to go and do speeches, working with the community, because I never wanted to make a career out of that. I always wanted to be something fun and something special that I wanted to do. And so I think where I want to head next is I've always really wanted to start a scholarship organization. And I really want to support people in STEM because I grew up in a low income family and scholarships were what allowed me to afford college. So I want it to be a scholarship that not only goes to public four-year universities, but can also be applied to trade schools and community colleges to make sure whatever route people want to take, they have some sort of financial support. But if I were to choose where I wanted to start this scholarship, I really want to become a Pageant Northwest sponsor, actually. I've been given so
Ooh.
much from the organization and from Marine and
Mhm.
David. And every year there's multiple girls in teen and miss who are in the STEM field. So I would love to, as a sponsor, award a STEM scholarship to a teen and a miss for all the states that Marine and David support. So that's goal number one, small scale. And then who knows, maybe one day I'll be a Miss USA sponsor with a STEM scholarship there. And then hopefully have
Yes.
a full scholarship organization where I'm able to support students across the country.
I love it. I love that you're already thinking that far ahead and you want to kind of pay it forward literally so that more women and kids can follow their STEM dreams. That's awesome. And I agree, Maureen and David are the best, kindest people, and I'm so happy that they are the leaders of the Pageants Northwest family. They're just such genuine people. Okay, we're kind of running up on time. So I only have two more questions. The first is, how can we keep up with you on your journey? Where are you on social media and how can we follow you?
So follow me on Instagram at Miss ID USA, as well as on Twitter. And then for TikTok and Facebook, it's Miss Idaho USA. And then my personal account is JORDANABD on Instagram.
Sweet. Okay, everybody, please give her a follow, give her all the love as she heads off to Miss USA. I have one last question. Are there any final words of advice for our viewers? It can be pageant related, STEM related, life related, just any final note that you want to leave us on.
I think never underestimate the opportunity that can come from any experience. I've had a few people ask me, well, how did you get a 3D printed statue? And I did the work to trace back, and it was at a ice cream social when I was 19 years old. One of the scholarships I was a part of, they asked if there was anyone in town in the summer that wanted to help at an ice cream social, just hand out flyers. I wasn't doing anything else, so I thought, sure, let me go to this ice cream social. I met the director of the scholarship while I was there. She asked me later to speak on behalf of the scholarship at events. That snowballed into an entire involvement with this organization. I got to meet with legislature. I got to speak at the GeekWire Summit on their behalf. I got to become a host for their fundraiser, which raised over $1 million in one morning for STEM scholarships. And then it was after I'd graduated from college, they saw the application to be an If Then ambassador, and it made them think of me. So they sent it to me. I always have the mindset of the worst people can say is no. So I applied and then became an ambassador. So I always laugh because an ice cream social when I was 19 is why I had a statue at the Smithsonian.
You never know. That's the whole networking, right? Like it's so powerful. You never know who you're going to meet or where you're going to meet them. So always be on your one best behavior and also just a good representative of yourself. And you never know where it will lead. You could also have a statue at the Smithsonian. Who knows? So that kind of wraps us up today, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, Jordana. Good luck at Miss USA. I'm so excited to cheer you on. I will be there in the audience. And that's it, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.